Raven fans, Oriole fans, thank you for joining us this week for the Ravorisports podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content here. So if you're watching us right now, even though we're a day late, sorry about that little technical issues yesterday. So we are here on YouTube, we're here on our Twitch page, and we're here on our X page live. Again, like a couple issues with X before my last stream. Didn't even realize it before I had to take care of that. So, like and subscribe to all of our social media content. Definitely, Genesis Notary Services, Facebook.com is the web page. If you want to book us for a notary appointment in the Shenandoah Valley area, we are more than happy to come out and do that for you. Definitely, we're going to have a live stream, Genesis Notary Services, September 2nd for the notary business as well. This is going to be a little more meat and potatoes for y'all, okay? A little bit more, not just general, hey, I'm Charles with the notary service and blah, blah, blah. A little bit more meat and potatoes. What a notary actually does, why you need a notary, all those type things, a little bit more meat and potatoes, which states, more about Virginia in particular, all those type things. So the notary service. So stream will be a little bit longer, a little bit more meat and potatoes in that. Ravorisports.company.site is the website. Definitely, you can get all your Ravens Orioles merchandise, Ravens hats like this one on here. Bird got a bunch of these for you. Okay, brand new Oriole hats here. Enjoying it while the Orioles here on an All-Star break. Like this jersey here, like this is for a kid. Orioles sweatshirt. So you got school coming back up open. Here, you can get your Orioles sweatshirt as well here. That's not on the website. You can go to ravorisports@gmail.com and get it there. More than happy to go ahead and square you away with that. C. Charles Harris, we are Legal Shield. Definitely you could contact me. Go to our Facebook page, Harris Legal Shield. You could go ahead and do that. Make sure Legal Shield, all one word, Harris at the beginning. Go ahead, check us out there. If you want to go ahead and book some, if you have some questions about it, but you can buy tremendous value with the Legal Shield, right, on Harris Legal Shield. So definitely check that out. You can go ahead and do that. Comprehensive Maryland football preview is going to be the week before the game. So definitely check that out as well. And we're going to have our NFL preseason preview September 1st. So the Maryland preview August 25, NFL preview September 1st. That is Sunday night before the first game. Thursday. Haven't decided yet how we're going to do the first week. Might either move the podcast or do a pregame before the first game on Thursday. So definitely keep that in mind. All right. Let's get down to the business of the NFL. So, as we always do, start with the NFL. So, this is one of our very last segments here before football season, right? So the rookies have already showed up. Their veterans are going to show up this week on Sunday. So we're going to have actual training camp stuff going on next week. Next week, we're going to go over with the beginning of training camp, state of the franchise. State of the franchise for the Ravens. So we're going to go over that. This week, we're going to do the hot seat, right? So who are the Ravens? Easy for me to say. Who are the Ravens on the hot seat in 2024? So what constitutes a hot seat? So who's on there? So obviously, who's in jeopardy in any kind, right? Who's getting benched? Who's getting sent cut? Who's getting fired? Who's getting whatever? All the Ravens in terms of hot seat pressure from coaches, fans, etc. Who's under the most pressure? Who needs to perform the best on the hot seat for the Ravens in 2024? So let's take a look. Didn't list any of the rookies. It's really too hard to tell. Rookies generally, anyway, aren't on the hot seat. If you're a late round, I mean, you're going to be on a hot seat anyway, right? Late round pick, you're just fighting for a roster spot or like a Bo Braden non-roster player. you're fighting for a roster spot. So no rookies on this. But who else wouldn't be on a hot seat as well? Um, Maybe in a rookie, maybe in a rare case, maybe like a Caleb Williams might be one, on a different, maybe if you got a quarterback or something. But very rarely, I mean, rookies, carpe diem for season, the opposite of a carpe diem, assy, it's okay. You're a rookie. Okay, so who's on the hot seat, but who's it cold, right? These are pretty much in order. This is the core of your football team. So no matter what happens, these guys have a future with the Ravens. They have a large contract or going to get a large contract with the Ravens. It would take a massive it would take a massive shift for these guys to be in any trouble. Lamar Jackson is going to be the quarterback, I think, for several years. Won the MVP last year. We already know that. Kyle Hamilton, I think, is the next safest. I think he's the guy. I think he's going to get a large extension. I don't think there's any question about whether the Ravens are going to extend him. He could be one of the better safeties in the league if he's not the best safety already. Tyler Linderbaum, I think, is the building block for the line. Definitely now with Ronnie Stanley gone or soon to be gone soon or getting older. I think this is the guy you're going to build around. Tyler Linderbaum at center. Justin Matabuke. Justin Matabuke's got that fresh extension. I think after last season, I think with the money they committed to him, I think he's pretty squared away. Have him a little bit ahead of Roquan. Roquan, I think only maybe because of position. If somebody flipped those, said Roquan was higher, I don't have a problem with that. Roquan, never a couple more years with the Ravens. Justin Tucker, I think, is going to the Hall of Fame as a Ravens kicker. Last season wasn't his best season, but it would be catastrophic for them to get rid of Tucker. Zay Flowers, I think, is on the list. I think he's probably the least performed, but I think with the Bateman extension, I think it's going to be Bateman and Flowers. I think if the Ravens have their way, even if they bring somebody in, I think Flowers is pretty much good for a while. And Mark Andrews, a little bit lower now, I think only because of the injury that he had. Year 6 or 7 now for him. So that's a bit of a thing. Not a quarterback, so he's a little bit older, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I think he's definitely definitely the core of your team. So those guys are good. These guys are cool. Not quite as safe, but pretty safe, I would say. Not as good at performers. I wouldn't put them in that core group there, but pretty safe. Bateman, I can't believe I'm actually putting in this category. I wouldn't have believed it, but Bateman is definitely here. Bateman signed an extension. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a Raven in 2025 and maybe 2026. Not making a lot of money. If they see anything from Bateman, I think he's good to go. Same with Adafi Owe. Definitely he's got already. They picked up the 5th-year option. A lot of people think, I'm not necessarily again one of them, that he's going to get double-digit sacks this year. Again, I'm not in that category. The Ravens clearly do. The Ravens clearly believe it. I think he's definitely good as far as at least in 2025. Broderick Washington, bit of a down year, some people would say, but I thought he was decent enough. But with Matabuke there, he's going to get double teamed. I think he rebound. He's got a couple more years on this deal. Trent Simpson, when I did the video with the battles, even though he's a new starter, I didn't even put him as a battle. He's a starter. I think it would take a miracle for them to get him out. I think he's still got something to prove. I wouldn't put him in that core group yet because he hasn't really shown it yet. Jordan Stout, obviously, the punter for the last couple of years. I don't think he's going anywhere. Fairly cool as well. These guys are mid, right? So, I wouldn't say they're in the hot or cold category. Most of your football team. Okay, so there's a lot of names here, but this is not exactly in order like those other lists, but this is about where it is. Some guys are good, expect them to be good, but they have a short deal, so you can't really put them in the core of the team. Some maybe for sure aren't going to get a long deal, etc., but they're in the middle. Most of the team right here. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, he had like a 4-year deal. I put him in the cold category, but basically it's a 1 year, so he's still showcasing himself in the team. Pat Ricard is always the only worry that he has is they're going to change the offense, no longer use a tight fullback, something like that. But Pat Ricard is good. These two guys, 3 and 4, you could put them in, you could have flip-flopped them depending on how the competition goes. Michael Pierce and Travis Jones. I think they're going to be year to year. One of Pierce, I think, maybe is on a shorter is on a shorter run, a little bit older. That's why he's a little bit higher there. Travis Jones, Pat McCarry, not a starter. They're not even now. Even still not talking about a starter. Probably though better served as a backup. But how much longer is he going to be a starter by in the middle? Isaiah Likely, pretty good, still developing, but he's still a backup. You're never that secure as a backup. Arthur Millette, kind of same. He's a guy year to year. Darius Washington, lots of potential, kind of in the middle there. Tavarius Robinson on the team, but how much is he going to play? Again, kind of in the middle. Not sure he's going to be cut. Not sure he's going to play a lot. Keaton Mitchell is on the roster. I think Keaton Mitchell's on the roster. He's probably not going to play at least half the year. John Harbaugh did not sound like he's coming back anytime soon. Probably week 7 or 8 is probably the earliest we're going to see Keaton Mitchell. And Nick Moore, long snapper, he's back. I don't know how secure a long snapper can ever be, even though he's been around for a while. He's pretty good, but he should be back. Tyler Hyde is gone. Probably in the middle. Andrew Voorhees should be the starter, could be the starter, but if he doesn't start, kind of battling for a starting job with a guy below him. Josh Jones is absolutely there as well. So we will see there. But kind of both in the middle. Voorhees, a non-starter. Josh Jones, 1-year deal. Kyle Van Noy, back for 1 year. Vet. Same with Brent Urban. A lot of people don't like Brett Urban's chance. I posted an article. They don't like Brett Urban's chance. Brett Urban is going to be on the team. John Harbaugh loves him. He's going to be there. Chris Board is on the team as well. Definitely at least as a special teams guy. Same with Malik Harrison, about in the middle. I wouldn't say they're hot or cold. I don't know how some cases guys just aren't as valuable. They're second teamers. I wouldn't say wouldn't say it's hot seat for those guys. All right. These guys are on the hot seat, right? So the expectation is high. They need to perform now. Seat is pretty hot for these guys as well. They may get cut. They may get released. They may even if they play this year, may get benched or may not have a future. So they need to show something this year to go ahead and show that they're going to be Ravens in the long term. Brandon Stevens, I think, is one. He playing for a contract in 2025. Last year of his deal, they took a cornerback in the first round. They took one in the fourth round. I don't think he's going to be here or Marcus Williams after the following year. Really good. I would say Brandon Stevens was terrific last year. So he definitely could get a deal. I think that's where the pressure comes, but he's really good. Marcus Williams, same. Marcus Williams, we're not talking about Marcus Williams when he's on the field. Marcus Williams is fine when he's on the field. I love the signing when they made it. I've actually liked him on the field when they had him. Thing is, they're going to have to pay Kyle Hamilton here pretty soon. How much do you want to continue to pay Marcus Williams? And again, had some injury issues, but I would say pretty confident a healthy Marcus Williams is pretty good. But there's pressure on him. Even if he's healthy, other interesting part with Williams, even if he's healthy, the Kyle Hamilton thing is good because Kyle Hamilton is going to get a lot of money. So how much do you want to pay two safeties here? Deal isn't over yet. I think he's in year 3 of a 5-year deal. I think he's maybe got another year or two left after. I think he's got another year maybe after this year. Interesting to see. Marcus Williams. Daniel Falele. Not sure he's going to get another shot to be a starter better than this training camp here. He has to beat out Roger Rosengarten at right tackle. I would say he's probably on the roster, but maybe not. He's got to show it here in camp. A lot of pressure on him. Nelson Aguilar, almost feel unfair to put him here, but it is possible. I think Walker beats him out. If Walker beats him out, I don't know if that's going to happen. Possible they could cut him. I think if it's happening as well. Signed pretty early. Possible. I think it's pretty hot for him. These two, I think, are in equal. I'm not sure both of these guys make the team. Talon Wallace, Deontay Hardy. Little surprise, even still. I was almost positive that the Ravens were going to go with Talon Wallace as their kick and punt returner after the great punt return he had against the Rams last year. They brought in Deontay Hardy. Hardy is, I don't think, has another position. So it'd be interesting to see if Wallace can beat him out for that if he's on the roster. Also, too, what's interesting, another reason why they're both hot, punt return has changed, changed a lot. It's gonna look very different, the kick and punt return. So how valuable is that even if they're able to make the team? Very interesting. Hot seat for both of those guys. Salalatu is on the hot seat as well. He's going to get a chance to start. Interesting to see. I think he could be fighting for a roster spot as well. I think he probably makes it. This is why he's like 7, but it's interesting to see how that goes. Charlie Kolar, a little bit cooler, probably safe, but probably. Valchek last year in training camp, Travis Valchek, some people say he outplayed him. So Kolar was a higher draft pick, etc. I think they select to see a little bit more from him. Maybe it's a little hot seat. Justice Hill probably on the roster. But again, they signed Derrick Henry. How much is he going to play now? Interesting. How much does Derrick Henry signing cut into the playing time of Justice Hill? Keaton Mitchell at some point is going to come back. They drafted Ali in the draft. Interesting to see. Well, Hill, last year of his deal as well. These guys, it's very hot. Flaming hot. So these guys need to show it now in training. Some of these names, I'm not even sure they're going to be on the team. So keep that in mind. Number 1, I'm putting the coach, John Harbaugh. I love John Harbaugh as a coach. He's been tremendous for the Ravens as a coach. Let me tell you something. It's hard to fire a guy who's 13, I think it was 13-4 last season and go to the AFC Championship games. I don't think Steve Bisciotti has forgotten that. I don't think a lot of the fans have forgotten that. I'm not saying you have to win the Super Bowl, but I'm telling you, another lousy game in the playoffs, another lousy offensive performance, he's in trouble. I think definitely. Also, to the point with the coach, and I'm not wanting him to go. So let's just start right there. I'm not wanting the coach to go, but I definitely think some of the fans are getting weary. Definitely, fans are getting weary. So a bad start, 0-2, or anything at all like that. I think Harbaugh. I think he's probably now in the most trouble I think he's been in. Ronnie Stanley. I think he's all but gone next year. I don't think he can ever return back to the player that he was. I doubt it very seriously. I don't think he's healthy enough anymore. I don't think he's healthy enough to be a really good starter anymore. He should start this year. We hope he plays well. Ryan Stanley, again, 1 out of every few games if he stay healthy enough. But I don't see a scenario where he stays at all. I think he probably starts most of this year though. Marlon Humphrey, red hot. Marlon needs to show him something, like I talked about with the corners. It is possible the Ravens have in their mind for 2025, the starters are Nate Wiggins and TJ Tampa. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I think if Marlon struggles again, Marlon, I think, unlike the difference maybe with him and Stanley, I think he's lower. I think there's a better chance that Marlon is really, really good. Marlon, when healthy, which he wasn't most of last year, is still pretty good. I thought I saw it more with Marlon than I did with Ronnie Stanley, where I thought Ronnie struggled a lot. He was hurt a lot as well. Ben Cleveland, he's going to be have every opportunity to win the starting job. I'm not sure there's a roster spot for him if he doesn't. Already I've heard some things, not off to a great start, but camp hasn't started yet. We will see when camp starts. David Ajabo, I think, is a little lower. Probably makes the team, but probably. I think another goose. He hasn't really shown much of anything with all the injuries, honestly. So Ajabo, I think this is, again, like Filet, I don't think he's going to get another shot to start if he kind of doesn't show up. These two guys, I don't think they're even on the team. Pepe Williams and Justin Armour-Davis. Again, we talked about all the corners in the draft that they drafted. I think they're kind of, unfortunately, in the same spot that a James Prochet was in like last offseason. They're still here, but I think the team has moved on. I don't know. I don't even know how great training camp saves these guys. It's possible, but I think these guys, I don't think they're going to be on the roster. Josh Johnson is on here. It's a little bit lower. You got a 6th-round rookie behind Lamar Jackson. And Josh Johnson really hasn't played like a significant role, even as long as he's been around, even though he's in his late 30s at this point. So they're going to need him to step up. Interesting to see how he does in camp, because if this doesn't work, they may have to go out and get another Ryan Tannehill. I'm not sure if Tannehill's still out there, something like that, to go ahead and solidify that. There you go. So the hot seat. So these are the Ravens that are in the hot seat, that are having issues, that are going to go ahead and getting that squared away. We're going to go ahead and check that out. The Ravens on the hot seat. So next week's State of the Franchise, we're going to look at all of the Ravens in the 2024 as far as the state of the franchise. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look. We looked at the Ravens and the hot seat. Who is on the hot seat? Now we're going to go to the larger NFL content here, and we're going to look at all who are the top 10 big guys in the NFL. Centers. So centers, very important in the NFL. These are the leaders of the line, right? Who's making the calls? Who has the best relationship with the quarterback? Who is actually reading the defenses, helping the quarterback read? Who's seeing the whole field, seeing the in charge of the line and getting it all squared away? A lot of teams don't like rookies to start at center for that reason. The center has a lot of responsibility. John Harbaugh was definitely absolutely like that. Linderbaum was an absolute exception to the rule, because center has to be so much to do. So a rookie's learning his job isn't the best for the position. So who are the best in the league? Who are some of the top 10 in the NFL as far as centers? I still like David Andrews in the top 10. I think he is look, the last of those Tom Brady lines there in New England, Dante Scarnecchia and all those years there. The Patriots lines was just nasty and fundamentally sound. And this was an absolute Patriot Patriots center, Patriots offensive lineman, versatile. A lot of things to like about him. Win rate was very good. Definitely going to have to bring along a rookie, Drake May. So I like Andrews. I have him at number 10. Corey Linsley. Some people, again, might disagree with that. I think he's been pretty good for years. I think the thing is, you just got to keep him healthy, fighting injuries in and out of the lineup, whatever. So he's not as effective when he's not healthy. But a healthy Corey Linsley, I definitely still have him in the top 10. And definitely now with Jim Harbaugh as the coach, easy for me to say. With Jim Harbaugh now as the coach, he's definitely going to be around guys. They're definitely going to emphasize the offensive line. I know one thing about the Chargers. Their offensive line is going to play better. Definitely like that. So Linsley is going to be a great leader for those one guys. Andre James. The stats don't lie with Andre James. You look at the win rate. You look at all these things with Andre James. He definitely belongs in the top 8. This is a team with a better line than people realize. Definitely, maybe not great at quarterback, but definitely at the line. Andre James, I thought was, you could argue he should be higher on the list. Kind of, though, doesn't have a large body of work yet, so he was really, really good last year. But let's see how he does this year. But I definitely was impressed enough. I have him at number 8. Connor Williams, last of the Dolphins, maybe somewhere else, still out there. Ravens are definitely going to keep their eye on this guy, and a lot of other teams see how it is. A lot of teams with young players, especially, you want to see how the beginning of camp goes. See how it looks. See how they look with the first team. So I think this is why he's still waiting. But Connor Williams, I think, is definitely a top 10 guy for somebody. I think Connor Williams definitely is a guy is absolutely going to help somebody wherever he goes as well. Definitely good for the Dolphins last year. This guy's been here for a while. Ethan Pollock for the Browns. The Browns, again, we talked about inside linemen last week. Talked a lot about run game with the guards. This guy is an absolute mauler for the guards. Don't ask Nick Chubb how good this guy is, how strong, great hands. I always liked his hands. His hands, he's got that maul mentality, but he's also technically sound. That's what you see with a lot of centers. Like guards, necessarily, they can kind of rely on the strength. Centers, you need a little technique. You're going to snap to the quarterback. You got to get up quick and whatever. He absolutely can do that. Eric McCoy with the Saints. Um, I definitely think maybe I always felt like he could have been better as well, but I think he's kind of right where he'd be, right in the middle of the top 10. Definitely, some people might have him higher than that as well. The only thing with him, I think the lines around him maybe not as good. Maybe he'd have a higher grade, but you look at all the win rate that he has, top 10 in a lot of areas, especially pass block and run block. Eric McCoy is definitely there in the top 5 as well. Ryan Kelly. So the Colts. I it's I have trouble paying Colts. I just do. Chris Ballard, and Jim Irsay are so annoying. I will say they do have a good lineman here. I think their offensive line interior, Quentin Williams and Ryan Kelly. I think Kelly actually is the perfect complement to a Quentin Nelson. You got Nelson, like we talked about, a lot of these guards, Mauler, strength, strong. This guy is technically sound. Definitely makes definitely good on the line calls. He definitely, I think it's funny. Peyton Manning would have did well with him. So Ryan Kelly. So definitely there. Our guy, Linderbaum. I think it's only a matter of time before Linderbaum is, I think, the best center in the NFL. I think he's entering his 3rd year. I think Linderbaum is terrific. I'm actually a little surprised his run blocking stats are not as good as the pass blocking. Throughout, that was kind of the rub on him. But you look at the win rates, I think he might be the best pass blocking center in the league. The run blocking, not you would think it's the other way, right? Like, because with the Ravens, but I think Linderbaum is the real deal. I think definitely over time, he's definitely going to be number 1 best young player, maybe the best young center in the league. Frank Ragnow, I think that Lions. How many Lions have we seen? Right, 3 weeks. We've seen Lions on every list. They're not on this for Ragnow. I think he makes it all go. He's not their best lineman, but he makes it all go. I think this guy absolutely is a stud. I think the separation here with the top 3 is pretty significant. I think you look at the entire list, these 3 are definitely a cut above as well. Ragnow, I think, might be the strongest center on the list. Definitely got a lot of strength as well. That whole Lions line fits right in, really pushes guys back. You don't see guys Ragnow. You see him push tackles back. You don't see that a lot. That's the biggest lineman, and Ragnow does it on a consistent basis as well. Number 1, Creed Humphrey. I think this is the best inside group in the NFL, and I think this is the best lineman of that good inside group, Creed Humphrey. A couple years ago, they wanted to make a change, the offensive line. When they lost the Super Bowl, what was the issue? When they lost to Tampa Bay, the offensive line, they took out the old offensive line. They brought in a new offensive line. They drafted Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And I think Creed Humphrey, you're not going to hit. you're not going to hit Pat Mahomes with Creed Humphrey there. And also, too, very impressive working with Andy Reid. What we say about a center, lots of responsibility, lots of to do in an offense. Andy Reid's offense for a center. He's terrific. I love him. Humphrey, I think, a number 1 center in the NFL. There you go. All right. We weren't supposed to see that. I see. That's why the video was late. Had issues uploading stuff. I had to do stuff again. So, big guys, I think Linderbaum, I think, is getting there. I think Linderbaum is terrific. The top 3, Ragnow, Humphrey, and Tyler Linderbaum, there's a big gap. There's a big gap right there. All these lists, a lot of times the gap is 4 or 5 or whatever, but the gap there is huge. I think Linderbaum, is going to be one of the best centers in the league. I think it's only a matter of time before he's number 1 on this list as well. Him and Humphrey are definitely going to be there. Ragnow is no slouch either, but he's been really good as well. All right, so let's take a look here. Sports media. We're going to get to baseball here, but we're going to talk a little bit about sports media. This is according to John Arson. ESPN has reportedly offered Stephen A. Smith an $18 million per year deal that would make the host take one of the highest paid talents at the network. Heard about this a few weeks ago with Stephen A. Smith. That he's going to be one of the highest paid. Here's the thing: make no mistake, he wants to be the highest paid guy. There is no mistake about it. That he wants to be the number one paid guy. He mentions it all the time. Pat Mac, oh, I'm rooting for him. Yeah, okay. Not that he's not, I mean, or whatever, but he knows what Pat McAfee's getting. He knows what Troy Aikman's getting. He knows what Joe Buck is getting. He knows what these guys are getting. And he is going to be adamant about getting that. I've heard that it's been signed already for more money. I have not confirmed that. So I'm not saying that. I'm not putting that out there because I don't know it for a fact that he hasn't said it, that it's done. I think it's probably still in negotiation as well. That's a lot of money he's turned down. And I'm going to say something about media that a lot of people don't understand. They pay you money when you're making the money. He's making them on First Take. That number's got to be in $100 million. If they're even considering this, it's in the $100 million. It's not just, this isn't charity, bro. It's a tough business, and if they're offering this, he's actually getting that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. And the numbers of First Take are higher than ever. With Shannon Sharp adding to their lineup as well, their numbers are higher than ever, especially on Monday and Tuesday. So shout out to him. He has been positioning himself for this. I can see it. He's just talking to Outkick, talking to Fox News, whatever. Why do you think he's making himself available? Making himself available to them just in case this doesn't go well, right? Or he doesn't get what he wants. Hey, talking politics. This is the strategy in this. I can see it a mile away. Some people are missing that, but I'm not missing it. That's exactly what he's doing. Other end. Skip Bayless is leaving Undisputed apparently at the end of summer on FS1. Didn't specify. I'd assume before football season for sure that he's going to leave Undisputed. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Undisputed. I read a couple places that they're going to continue Undisputed without him. And then I've heard that where they're going to not do Undisputed anymore, they're going to do something else, change the name. So I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything about Keyshawn, but Skip is definitely out for sure. Interesting, real quick response a couple articles I read today saying that he will not be returning to ESPN to First Take or whatever. So I thought that was unnecessary to put that out there. I guess they kept getting asked that question. Hey, is Skip coming back now that he's available? I put end of an era with Skip because that's what this is, an end of an era. The debate format has changed. It really has. I think I kind of liken this to if you ever seen the movie Dreamgirls, Jimmy's got soul. Right? The Eddie Murphy character, right? And kind of what he likes to do and what he's good at isn't as popular anymore. I think that's all this is. Unlike Stephen A., who's kind of evolved, like I was talking about, kind of going into politics, kind of going into different things, kind of going into production thing. Skip kind of is more one-dimensional. He's a great hot take debater, but he really doesn't really do anything else, and I think that's what happened. The numbers were incredibly low on Undisputed. For example, First Take would have 500,000 some way, especially when Shannon first got there, 500,000 viewers, which is very high for a show of its type. And Skip Bayless, I mean, some days he's like less than 50,000. And the big problem with Skip was he's paid to get those higher numbers. $8 million a year, that's not going to work. You're not going to make money like that. And I think that's why if they continue to move something, it's going to be something with lower salaries. Look, you're not competing with First Take. First Take is really killing you. So and I think I think really, like we said to Jimmy early, time is up. He's just not that format alone. It's just not what it was. It's not as much interest in that debate and all that other stuff. So evolving and things like that, I think time kind of moves past Skip. Um, Interesting to see if we even see him after this. Interesting to see it. He's 72 years old. We'll see him in some format. He's going to be, and this is my opinion, on First Take at some point. I don't know about a regular, but I could definitely see him popping in or making an appearance or whatever. He's still friends with Stephen A. I definitely could see that. Interesting to see what happens with that as well. One more here. Bronny James in the Summer League. I had the graphic when I first put out Bronny struggles in the Summer League. But last night he had his first really decent game. He had 12 points. His first three, like 2 or 5 from the three. So he was decent. Another reference here. I talked about this with the Lamar Jackson contract last year. That the Bronny James talk is not about Bronny James. This is it's like the movie. I even reference it again. The two could play that game. This isn't about you. This stopped being about you a long time ago. Anthony Anderson in the movie. This isn't about Bronny James, even in how well he plays. This is about LeBron James and his power. This is why people were very polarized and reacting. People around the league, there's a section of them that are respecting John James' power. You're not going to punch holes in Bronny James because LeBron's going to get upset. It's already happened to some people where LeBron has been upset with them because they're making fun of Bronny or getting on Bronny or whatever. So that is some sections, and there's some people that are doing it for that reason. They're going extra hard. I mean, take a grip, guys. It's Summer League. You don't know anything yet. These Summer League games, 97% of these guys, well, I don't know about that. I'll go back on it. That's maybe too high, and I don't have hard numbers, but I would say 80%. I'm comfortable in saying 80% will never step foot in a regular season NBA game. So you don't know anything yet. Dalton Connect and the Bronny are going to be there because they have contracts, but most of these guys are never going to see the court. A lot of these guys, if guys play well, high picks, they go ahead and don't play them. We don't even want to see in the Summer League. But guys struggle, so what? I don't think they're worried about it as well. But this is about LeBron James' power. This is what this is about. This is what there's a section of people that don't like LeBron getting his way all the time. That LeBron is so powerful in the league. LeBron, Rich Paul, his team, etc. They was able to pull this off. There's so many people in the league that don't like that. So that is a large part of this. What LeBron and the power of that. It's really a lot of this. So much isn't about Bronny James because you're not finding out anything about Bronny anyway, right? Not yet. He's still young. He's still got time to develop. I don't think he plays any significant minutes his first year. I don't think it matters. I mean, he's a second round pick. So what if it takes him 2 or 3 years? You're not paying him much money anyway. So he's going to sit on the end of the bench or in the G League. He may start the season in the G League at some point and then come up. It's fine. I don't think he's ever going to be a really, really good player from what I've seen. But, trust me when I tell you, a lot of these guys at the end of the bench in the NBA aren't that far from, Patrick Beverly, for God's sake. He could turn into that. I mean, that's not saying much. So anyway, so that's my thought on LeBron James and the Summer League as well. A lot of people are tired of LeBron's power. People just going nuts. You don't know anything yet. LeBron is, but a lot of it is LeBron's power, influence, etc. that a lot of guys don't like. So that has a lot to do with it there. All right. So let's go ahead and get squared away here with our baseball summer series. And there we go. Baseball Summer Series. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Oh, can't do much there. So we're going to do our Baseball Summer Series. So last week we had the MLB draft, right? So the last few weeks we haven't been talking about. Next week we're going to start talking about minor league teams again. We got the talk about Hagerstown Boxcars, your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Definitely, we talked about them for the first time. We're going to talk about Frederick Keys. We're going to talk about all those minor league teams, a little bit the independence of minor league baseball in the Maryland area. So definitely check that out. But we're going to talk about the Orioles this week again, the prospects. So now that we've had the draft, we had Orioles. I really did like their draft picks last week. Two guys I really had an eye on came to the Orioles. So absolutely great for the Orioles. And now, who is now the top 10, my top 10 list, Orioles prospect list 2024, the new Orioles top 10 prospect list. These guys didn't make the top 10, but they are worth mentioning as well. Jed Fabian barely missed it. Jed Fabian, I think, has kind of just been a guy, see how he does. He's kind of worked his way through the minors. He's one of these guys that might be a really good major leaguer. Only thing is, not really a place for him to go. But you look at it, you look what he's done in Delmarva, you look what he's done now in Bowie, you look what he's been doing. He's definitely worked his way into good position to be a solid major league player. All good, all-around game. Kind of reminds me of Austin Hayes as well. Griff O'Farrell, Dustin Pedroia vibes when I seen him. There are some guys who hit the baseball really well without power. A lot of guys, when you say, well, he's not a home runner here, he does. This guy drives the ball. There is a difference between a guy, even if he's not a home run hitter, who kind of is a slap hitter or he gets a home. This guy drives the ball, wrenches the ball into the outfield. Really good hitter, does everything well. I mean, I think he's the only of the five tools that he doesn't have. Run, hit for power, catch, throw. He's got 4 of the 5. The only thing he really doesn't have is hit for power. Definitely at Virginia. Definitely very, very good at Virginia. Definitely very impressive. I absolutely think the Orioles got a very good second round pick here, Griff Farrell. But again, 2027, be a while. And where does he play? Packed Orioles system. Creed Williams. I love Creed Williams. Still know where we're at. I have 2025. I don't even think it's the whole 2025 season at the end. But I tell you what, getting better. Definitely getting there. I don't know if he's a catcher, but Schwarber vibes. Definitely can hit. Definitely lost a lot of weight. Definitely been good again this year in the minors. So definitely he's a guy that we want to keep an eye on. Luis Aminia. So he's definitely a guy. One of the biggest contracts the Orioles ever spent, $2.3 million. That's a franchise record. Hasn't really gone particularly well for him in the minors yet. So he's still struggling, but he's still very, very young, 17 years old, at the Florida Complex League this year out of the Dominican. So keep an eye on that. Braylon Tarva, kind of the same, a little bit older. Orioles spent a lot of money on him. Still hasn't hit the Mendoza line yet, 149, but definitely the tools are absolutely there. So definitely keep an eye on those guys there as far as going forward. All right, who's in the top 10? Number 10, Vance Honeycutt. Yeah, I'm going to put him in the top 10 right away. I think this guy's athleticism is outstanding. He's a very good defensive player, very good in the outfielder. And I do like guys who are on good college teams that really, I think, advances a prospect sometimes. It's so big of a difference between a high school prospect. Really takes a while. Really a guy who plays well in college, I think, advances a prospect. 2026, I'm going to be kind. Let's see how he does the rest of this year. I think he does spend a whole season in the minors, but I don't think he spends that long in the minors. So many people worried about the swing and miss stuff. Strike out. Stop it. Don't care if he strikes out. Definitely some guys do not need to have Clay Christian to be good hitters in the major. He might level contact, strike out more. We'll see. But all the other tools are terrific. Vance Honeycutt, absolutely. Chase McDermott, little surprised we didn't see him instead of Povich. I think we may see him. I think we may see him at some point this year. See how the trade deadline looks. But Chance McDermott, I think he was only a hair behind Povich as far as prospects. Okay, do want to mention this in prospects. I did not include prospects here. If you're looking at prospect list, guys who are already on the team, right? So Kerstead and Povich aren't here because they're already in the majors. So I took them out. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. Max Horvath, I think, is pretty good. I had Max Wagner here. I think they're kind of cut from the same cloth, but he's outperformed Wagner. I think definitely power hitting third baseman. Again, really good college baseball player. Definitely a guy showing it in the minors. 2026, I think it's possible next year. I think 2026 more because, again, how good the system is as well. Jackson Burmester coming around. I've always liked him. I thought it was a bit of a steal when they took him last year. He's got, it's weird, not the super hard blazing fastball that everybody wants, but he's got good pitching tools. You can see it. He's a guy, he can mix his pitches. He does different things, whatever. He just needs better control more consistently. I think he can do it. I absolutely think this guy with the tools, he definitely could be a really strong reliever, but I think he definitely can be a starter. I definitely would try him as a starter, see how he does as a starter. But definitely as a guy, you're seeing a lot of these young pitchers, 3-4 pitches. Definitely he's a guy who can throw 4 pitches consistently. Burmester, I think, is I like him as the best pitching prospect in the system. Dylan Beavers. I like Dylan Beavers. I think he's definitely blocked. I think he could be in the trade bait. I think somebody who gets Dylan Beavers and trades for him could be getting a guy who could be a center fielder for many years. Great speed. I think he's a good hitter. Not a home run hitting prospect. I don't see that. Some pop in his bat, but I definitely think Beavers is definitely good for the long haul. Ricky Benfield, definitely moving up. Number 5, number 1 draft pick last year. Now he's at number 5 as advertised. Average in the minors, I like to see it be a little bit more, but that's it. Definitely great speed, runs the ball well, runs the bases well, has all the tools. Definitely he's going to be a center fielder. See a lot of Kenny Lofton in him, a guy who can run the bases, going to get a lot of steals for you, ready to play center field right away for you. Average, I like to see it a little bit higher. That's why he's not higher on the list. He's been hitting around 250, 260. But again, definitely major league stuff here level. Connor Norby probably be on the majors on a different team. I think the issue is he's been blocked. He kind of had a cup of coffee earlier. I think they wasn't going to stay anyway. They want to keep getting him at bats in the minors. Definitely, I think he could be showcased on a trade here coming up at the deadline. I think whoever gets Connor Norby, he might be a guy if you need a second baseman or if you need somebody in left field, you could play right away. Kobe Mayo is back from the injury, killing the game. I think Mayo is going to be the third baseman of the future for the Orioles. I don't know if he's even on the table. It'll be interesting. I think Crochet or Tyler Anderson might be the only one in play if it's going to be Kobe Mayo. I don't even know about Tyler. I would say Crochet and maybe Tarek Subel. I don't think they're answering any other call. I think they view Kobe Mayo as the third baseman of the future, and they should. Fielding's getting better. It doesn't make me feel a lot better. I don't think he's that good at third, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Basayo, I think definitely he's another one. I think in trade talks. I don't think he is off the table, and I think only because of his position. He's definitely, I think, one of the better hitting players in the minor leagues. I think definitely a lot of teams could use him. I don't love him defensively. I don't think he's as good a catcher. I think that's the thing. I think he's more of an offensive catcher. Might have to. I don't even know if you have to play him in another position, but I tell you, with the pitch clock and everything, that's the only concern I have with him. His bat speed is sick. He can really move the bat through the zone. And yes, Jackson Holliday is still the number 1 prospect for the Orioles. I have him at short, Some people want to move him to center field. What I don't think it matters. I think with his athleticism, um, he could play a variety of different positions. I could put him. I'm fine with him at third. Fine with him at short. Fine with him at second. I think you're kind of wasting him. I think shortstop would be like where I would see him, but he may have to move to a different position. There you go. The MLB prospect list for the Orioles top 10. This is still a very strong system, and they even strengthened it even more what they just did in the MLB draft last earlier this week. So definitely the Orioles farm system. They're actually now in a position near the trade deadline. Now that they're actually able to go ahead and move some players near the trade deadline. So definitely keep that in mind. Or if you decide not to trade players or you keep them, hey, it's a win-win when you have these type of offensive prospects. Orioles report. All right. So on break, Orioles have met the All-Star break. Shout out to Gunnar Henderson in the home run derby. Shout out to Corbin Burns, the All-Star game as well. So we didn't have a whole bunch of games. Orioles did lose 2 of 3 to the Yankees. We did go over the game on Sunday, so definitely check that video out. We kind of broke it down there as well. Lost 2 of 3, but the one win did keep you in first place in the American League East. So how about that? So definitely keep that in mind. No other games because obviously you got the All-Star break as well. Who was hot before the break? Mountie, I think, was well. Hard to find offensive players. And frankly, a lot of them are struggling. Mountie, I think, as well. I think Mountie's hitting well. He's just not hitting for power, which is what we want. He's hitting those things on the warning track in the Camden Yards before they move those fences back. Seen it several times. Those have been home runs. He is more affected by moving the fences back than anybody. Seen it too many times. He's hitting that ball, and now that's 390, and now he can't hit a home run. Now those things are getting called on the warning track where they would have went over the fence. So he's probably more affected by anybody. Jacob Webb's been really good all year. Santander, I put him in a hot category, but like I said, not as good. A lot of these guys on offense, that's the problem why they lost so many games there because no offense. Adley, this is first time I've ever had him in this category. Scuffling a bit. I think even Sunday he got the walk, but this is about as bad as I've seen him as far as at the plate. I definitely believe he'll turn it around, but definitely got to call it like it is. I mean, definitely not hitting a lot. Same with Westberg. Westberg, I think this is as cold as he's been all season. I think this is not an accident with Westberg and Adley in this category. This is why you're scoring a lot less runs. Same with O'Hearn. O'Hearn not as good lately. So there you go. O'Hearn, Westberg, not as hot. This is why you're struggling on offense as well. Bench is cleared. Heston Kjerstad was hit in the head by Clay Holmes in the 9th inning with 1 out. Oh, wow. I almost, man. Went out in the 9th inning by Clay Holmes. Bench is cleared. Orioles manager Brandon Hyde, was walking away, exchanged some words with the New York Yankee dugout at one point. Hyde, who was carrying Kjerstad helmet, walking towards the Yankees dugout. And Orioles announced that Heston Kjerstad was placed on the 7-day injured list, battling injuries. So Friday's game. So Heston Kjerstad was hit in the head by Clay Holmes. A lot of people believe that it was an accident. Maybe it was. I don't know. Having perspective and looking back on it now, maybe it was. Only reason I may say that is the situation. How much did it benefit them to in that situation? I mean, you're about to win the game at that point, right? So maybe it was. You never know with the Yankees, though. I mean, they always doing this type of foolishness. But maybe it was. What Hyde was upset about was the ranky reaction from some of the players in the dugout. Hey, my guy almost get hit in the head. What the heck are you guys fixing so funny and laughing? So I can almost tell you, had there been any other sport, he'd have been suspended for sure because he was the first to lay hands on Austin Wells. So he would have been suspended. I definitely hope that this foolishness is over. The bench is cleared. Call a brawl. Nobody. There wasn't no punches thrown. Everybody was fine. definitely some upset people, some yelling, maybe a little bit of pushing and shoving. But I definitely see why Brandon Hyde was upset. I think the other thing he was doing, his team was struggling. He was trying to light a fire under his team as well. So maybe it works Sunday, but definitely a lot of foolishness with the Yankees, man. Man. Orioles purchased the contract of Vinny Notra. I can't even pronounce his name. In a corresponding move, Kate Povich was optioned to AAA, and Danny Colombe was transferred to the 60-day DL. No reason to make too much of this. So they brought him up here, I think, for those 2 games. And you move Povich down, you option him out. So they had somebody in those games of the Yankees in the bullpen because you're not going to use Povich anyway. Probably you got game Friday, Saturday, maybe until Monday or Tuesday. So, get an extra arm in there while you're waiting for Povich's next start. Povich, I think, was good enough to stay with his last start. Orioles announced that they have purchased the contract of Bert Smith from AAA Norfolk. Dylan Tate was optioned down in a corresponding move. Not a lot of confidence in Dylan Tate. You can kind of see Brandon Hyde all year kind of treading lightly with Dylan Tate. The stats actually aren't as bad as I thought the confidence looked. You could clearly see that he was not thrilled with Dylan Tate. He's going to try Bert Smith, who was pretty good in the first time he was out there. Corbin Burns was the starter. Shout out. We watched it as the starter for the All-Star team. So it's a cool thing to have the Orioles just starting the All-Star game. Gunnar Henderson bowed out early in the first round of the Home Run Derby Monday night, hitting 11 home runs, failing to advance past the first round. Cool that he was there. Not too much to worry about. It was fun. Says a lot about Burns that what they think of him, had him go against Paul Skeens, one of the top pitchers. I think definitely he's a Cy Young candidate as well. Let's see if we can get Tarek Subel, right? Another Cy Young candidate. How good would the rotation be with those 2 guys on the roster? This week, when we start back up on Friday, Rangers and Marlins. After that, good a bit of a breather like this from these Yankee series and everything. They got a bit of a rest. They're going to go on the road here. 2 teams not really good. Rangers last year knocked them out of the playoffs, so I'm sure they'll be motivated to get that. And let's give it to Corbin Burns, player of the week, for not many games this week, but shout out to him. He was good in the start, and he was able to start the All-Star game. Good for him. Shout out to Corbin Burns, our player of the week. All right. Thank you very much for your patience with us. Definitely check us out, Ravorisports.company.site. All of our merchandise is on there. Where you can definitely check it out. If you definitely want to get Oriole hats, Raven hats, we'll definitely get that squared away. Trying times for our country. What happened with President Trump, what's happening right now in politics. So just we thank you for spending any time with us. We thank you for definitely checking out our podcast, checking about getting that out of our heads and talking a little baseball, football here like this. Thank you very much for joining us. You have a great rest of your week.